Do, 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 do. We are the Indoorfins. Yeah! Welcome back to another brilliant edition of the Indoorfins. I'm Ethan.
I'm speechless.
Ah, we had it. We had the intro.
No, it's cool. You just went full like hairband from the 80s and I didn't know what happened.
I was going to do like a cool like 80s TV show intro.
Oh no, I'm here for it. You didn't say anything. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. That was good.
We'll do that next time.
That was good. I like that. I like that. Hi everybody. Welcome back to the Indoorfins. If you heard the last episode, then you should know that this won't be as sad. I really wanted to have that specific conversation about how I felt about what was going on in the NFL and my personal reasons for not being able to watch it anymore. Because I think as a black person in America, everybody just assumes, oh, well, it must have something to do with Colin Kaepernick. It must have something to do with patriotism, or it must have something to do with the flag, this, that, and the other. And I was like, no, like I watched my childhood idol, like literally give himself to the game and then pass away because of the game. I can't do it. I personally cannot like gain another sports icon that way, only to have them yanked away from me that way. I can't do it. And if that's what the game creates, sorry. So if you're looking for that particular types of information, there are plenty of avenues for you to get that type of news. But today, I want to talk about why Brandon Ingram needs to be on every NBA team immediately.
And I want to talk about why Blake Griffin needs to be on every NBA team immediately.
We're also going to discuss how I had no idea Blake Griffin could even like score 50 points in a game. He made threes. He was actually making about half of his free throws. Half. What was it? 5 for 11, I think was the final line. But still, like, I didn't expect that from. Anyway, so we're gonna be talking about that. We're gonna talk about the World Series and just how wrong I was to predict anything. I was wrong. It's fine. I can accept that. And then we're going to break down the Champions League because Borussia Dortmund are, at this point, paper favorites to win. And we'll talk about that. And also, we need to talk about Paris Saint-Germain. Fair or fraud? Where are we going to start? Rondo? Start Rondo. Chris Paul. So for anybody who didn't see what happened, it's the Lakers, it's the Rockets, and Brandon Ingram has fouled James Harden. And James Harden, being the beard, being the MVP, being, the accolades, the guy, the marketing campaign that he is, he's a pretty important dude. So when you foul him and he gets a chance to go to the free throw line, he's going to let you know. Unfortunately for him, he picked the wrong one. So Brandon Ingram comes back around and just full on shoves the guy. This is the part where immediately I was like, Brandon Ingram's already like my dude, okay? So he shoves James. Screw you. Like,
we're not gonna take it.
Exactly. I'm a Laker. I have LeBron James as a teammate. Like, I ain't no punk, And I think that comes from like the culture that Kobe may have like created and what's left of it at this point. Because Kobe used to go after dudes in practice. He used to go after everybody in practice. And I think Brandon Ingram remembers those videos and remembers those things about Kobe Bryant. And he's like, I might not be in the MVP conversation like LeBron James, but you know what? You're not about to punk me, James Harden. So he shoves him, and players go after each other. Now, there's still a long debate going on about whether or not Rondo actually spits on Chris Paul. I tell you what, sometimes when I get really impassioned, I spit on this microphone. It is just a thing that happens.
As I look over at the microphone, we have
pop filters.
So I'm gonna call them spit guards from now on.
So we got spit guards for our microphones. But I mean, like, okay, so that's just a thing that happens. Like, people talk, and sometimes a little spit comes out. Like,
especially if you have a mouth guard, which he said he had.
Exactly, and you're pretty angry, and you're trying to, like, get all these angry words out of your mouth. So I think what actually happened was Rajon Rondo said something. And if you go and look at the camera, you go look at the video footage, Rajon Rondo, like, turns his head and kind of just gives him, like, the horse lips, just kind of, like, you ain't nobody, whatever. You blowing smoke out your butt. You're Chris Paul. You don't even have a championship ring. Like, Rajon Rondo has a championship ring, for the record. Y'all remember Boston. But Chris Paul took personal offense, and he literally, like, tries to, like, murder Rajon Rondo's eye. Like, just shoves his finger full on in there, freaking Roberto Firmino style. Like, and I'm just sitting here, and when I saw that, I was like, that's out of line. I was like, Chris Paul's not going to be happy about this. Chris Paul was
Rondo?
not. Yeah.
You mean Rondo's not going to be happy?
No, I mean, no, I thought that Chris Paul was really going to. No, I was. What I'm saying is, I thought as soon as he sticks his fingers in his eye, in my head, I go, Chris Paul's getting suspended. As soon as he jabbed him like that, I mean, he shoved his fingernails in there. Like, he was ready. As soon as I saw that, I was like, Chris Paul's getting suspended. And then Rajon Rondo swung, and I was like, oh, my God. My favorite part about this, though, is Brandon Ingram is separated himself from this whole thing, right? Like, he's on the other side of the court. He sees Rajon Rondo swing, and before anybody can stop him, Brandon Ingram is back in the middle of the fight, and not only is he rushed all the way across the court, this dude also manages to hit Chris Paul himself. Brandon Ingram is literally the teammate that you want on every single team. Because think back to, like, the 80s and the 90s and the early 90s, and think about how hard it was to go down the lane to get yourself a free throw. Or think about how hard it was to actually go through the lane and get a dunk. Like, you remember, like, I remember the video. I feel awful not remembering who it is off the top of my head, but it's a pretty iconic video of somebody going down the lane and literally getting clotheslined. And they were like, it's a 2-shot foul. Like, no flagrant, no technical. Guys don't get up and, like, have the whole, like, 12-player, like, scrum where no one's actually, like, hitting anybody. Like, the game was a little bit different back then. And so I think of Brandon Ingram. When I saw him do that, I was like, this dude could survive in the 80s. This dude would have made it on the Showtime Lakers. This dude would have made it on the Bad Boy. He would be welcomed on the Bad Boy Pistons. Like, this is a player who could have been an enforcer on the New York Knicks. Like, I want Brandon Ingram on my team. The other point that I wanted to bring up, though, was LeBron James choosing to console Chris Paul rather than to talk to his teammates in the middle of the moment. Which, okay, I tell you what, I understand that Chris Paul and LeBron James are supposedly bromance. They got themselves, little BFF rings or whatever. Like, here's the deal. When I am on the court, when we are playing a game, when I am at my workplace and you are on the other side, I ain't talking to you. I ain't touching you. I ain't handshaking you. I'm not putting my arm around you and being like, it's okay. You just shoved your finger in my teammate's eyeball. Chris Paul, enemy number one. LeBron, not a good look. You lost some clout with your teammates. Brandon Ingram, on the other hand, got 50 points for Gryffindor. Like, Brandon, again, I want Brandon Ingram on my team. I want him on my team all the time. That's how I feel about that.
Well, and another thing was the suspensions that were handed down. Most analysts, after the fact, thought that they were too lenient. The fact that Brandon Ingram got 4 games, Rondo got 3 games, and Paul got 2 games.
I still want to know how Chris Paul managed to managed to get 2 games for being, honestly, like, if we take away Brandon Ingram and we take away James Harden and we talk about what really instigated what happened in that moment, didn't Chris Paul shove?
He's the most famous player, obviously.
Man, Chris Paul, I'm sorry. I'm just going to say this because until something happens, I'm going to continue to say this. Chris Paul is one of the most underachieving players of this generation. And I mean, I can only say so much about Carmelo Anthony. I'm not about to actually sit here and throw Carmelo Anthony under the bus because I have consistently told people that he's just overrated. Like Carmelo Anthony is not even the player that people think he is. But I'm not gonna put him in the same category. Chris Paul, on the other hand, has been given multiple opportunities to succeed, and he and the teams that have been put around him have failed spectacularly. Like, he's the reason why Lob City is broken up, is because they had a chance to win a championship right when Golden State was getting real, real big. Wasn't it the Los Angeles Clippers that blew a 3-1 lead back before Golden State did it in like 2012? Sure. Darn, I should have looked that up before I thought about making that point. But Chris Paul consistently has had great teammates, consistently has gone to the playoffs, and then he just stops showing up. His team's never has he even made. I don't think he's made it to the Western Conference Finals. I know he's never been in the NBA Finals. Chris Paul, I
think he has.
I don't think he's made it to the NBA Finals.
I think they made it to the Western Conference.
But still, like, for Chris Paul to be the type of player that he is, and everybody talks about all these all-star accolades, this, that, and the other. When you're a starter in the all-star game, it's because the fans voted you in. And let's not forget that Kobe Bryant was not even playing and got voted in. Let's not forget about all the different times that people have had, like, season-ending injuries and still get voted into the starting lineup. Like, they have literally zero chance of impacting the all-star game. It's a popularity contest to be a starter in the NBA, which is fair. Which is fine, because the All-Star game is about what the fans want. All-Star weekend is about what the fans want. I'm not arguing that.
But that All-Star weekend is different than the season.
Yes.
And the season affects sales.
Yes.
So I think that's what they're thinking of.
So I understand that Chris Paul is like a fan favorite player, but he's
like you said, like we were talking about in the NFL about suspensions and fines.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain coaches and players that are going to get fined and suspended more than other players would.
I see where you're going
similar,
with this. You are correct.
Offenses.
We cannot. We can't be affecting the.
Be affecting the bottom line.
Picture. The whole picture. Bottom line is we need Chris Paul. We need
Tom Brady
Rondo.
Were to punch another player on the field for some reason,
Tom Brady would not lose more than 2 games.
Yeah,
you're right.
Tom Brady has been suspended for 4 games for the deflate gate.
Yeah, I was about to say, wasn't that the deflate gate?
Deflate gate. He was suspended. That was like the cheating thing.
And the team was fine.
Yeah.
The team was fine the year that he tore his ACL week 1. Like the Patriots are fine without Tom Brady.
But like other than like that big thing, he wouldn't be suspended for longer than because Jonathan Vilma for the Bounty Gate was suspended for the whole season. I think
Sean Payton got the whole
was
season.
Suspended the whole season.
The DC, I don't remember his name, but he got the whole season.
Yep. Belichick wouldn't be, he grabbed the ref that one time and he was only fine.
True. And Bill Belichick has also been the mastermind of both Spygate and Deflategate.
Yeah.
Still hasn't been punished the same way Sean Payton has.
Exactly. So the status does affect that. So
I 100%. Actually, like when you make your point, and I 100% agree with you. A part of the reason why these suspensions are so low is because we got to talk about who's going to be on, national coverage games. We're going to talk about, we play for the Lakers now. And the Lakers are back to being relevant because they have one LeBron James on the team. Like, we're talking about affecting not just the way the fans are going to interact with the game. We're talking about the way the fans are going to spend their money on the game. Because if Chris Paul's not going to be... It's the same thing when Greg Popovich gets chewed out every single time he would rest Tim Duncan or Tony Parker or any of those guys. And they would go on the road and he'd be like, no, I'm not bringing them. No, they're not playing. Because he's thinking long term. Greg Popovich is thinking about winning a championship. But you also got to consider the fans who show up to the games to see the big name players. If you're this, let's just remember the Spurs, and let's say that they did this coming here to Indiana, I would be upset because in that moment I'd be like, this is my one opportunity to see Tim Duncan. This is my one opportunity to see Tony Parker. This is my opportunity to see all these big name players, right. And the only one you brought was Kawhi Leonard. Like, I can see, I get why the NBA is like, you can't rest your big stars. I can see why the NBA is like, you can't. I can see why the NBA is also thinking we can't suspend our big stars because it opens up the same argument. Why am I going to go see the one game where the Lakers are going to be coming to my town if there's going to be no LeBron James? Why would I go see the Rockets if there's not going to be any Chris Paul, you know? It makes a lot of sense.
That's a different issue, though, because, like, you as the fan can understand that aspect. Like, if you saw the fight break out on the court,
you're right.
You would understand them not being able to play.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be like, okay, that's understandable why they're not playing.
Okay.
They're suspended.
You're right.
So you wouldn't be as upset. I mean, you'd be upset.
I'd still be upset, yeah.
But you wouldn't be upset at the coach. You'd be upset at the player.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That makes a lot of sense. Those are two separate points. I agree with you.
Maybe you'd be upset at the league, but
I could be a little upset with the league. But to go back to like answering your original question, I do think everybody got off really lenient. I think
since the Malice at the Palace, people have said that they've been a lot more lenient towards players, and I think they said that the reason was the further they've gotten away from that point, the more lenient the suspensions have gotten.
Right. And also people continue to forget that, like, that whole thing even happened.
Yeah.
Because it really only affected Detroit and Indiana.
Yeah.
And as an Indiana native and as an Indiana fan and as somebody who watched that game live. Ooh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it affected the game as a whole because
it changed the image of the league for a while.
Yeah. And, the players who were involved, Ron Artest changed his name.
Ron Artest did change his whole name. Shout out to Meta World Peace. For the record, though, what a lot of people don't understand about the Malice in the Palace, and I think you'll remember this, is that you remember back in the mid-2000s, Indianapolis was having to deal with a lot of violence at like nightclubs and strip clubs and things like that. And the Pacer players.
This was in Detroit.
Yeah. But I'm talking about after the Malice in the Palace. Remember, like, even after those things happened for another couple of years, like those specifically Steven Jackson, but there were other players involved as well. We had a lot of different legal issues. We had a lot of different like court cases pop up because these guys. I think one of them was. He was charged with criminal recklessness for shooting his gun in the air in the parking lot of a strip club. And everybody, that's the face you make. That's the face you make when you hear that. You go, why would you even do something like that?
That sounds familiar.
That sounds really, really dumb.
That sounds like Plaxico Burress.
Yo, he cheddar bobbed himself. I will never forget Plaxico Burress having to like.
How do you shoot yourself in the foot?
No. He shot himself like in the thigh.
Oh, he shot. Oh.
Yeah, no, because what happened was he had his safety off, and you know how people like to do. They don't like to have holsters. They think they can just put it down the front of their pants. Like, that's a recipe for disaster.
I personally don't know that, but because I would rather not put a gun down my pants.
Exactly. Like, it just doesn't seem like a smart thing to do in the first place, right? But I mean, people
with the safety off.
But people see movies and people see TV, and this happens all the time. They'll just reach in, or they'll see it in a music video. Like, you just pull out your gun and it's just there. It's just there right next to your genitals, and nobody's got a problem with it. No one. I'm sorry, but why? What makes you feel safe about having a loaded gun with the safety off inches from your junk? Man, anybody who wants to answer that question, please leave a comment on YouTube.
Stevie Johnson from the Bills made fun of him when he scored a touchdown. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. That is up there with Randy Moss fake mooning Green Bay fans.
Oh my god, that is up there. That's one of my favorite celebrations.
I don't think anybody was expecting that. Like, they knew what it was doing at the top, like, for a moment or two, but then they realized, like, oh, shoot.
Oh, yeah.
Shoot.
And that's another thing. You remember when, like, Chad Johnson and all those guys, they would do their celebrations, and you'd see the guys on the sideline go, here we go again. Yeah. you get used to that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, Chad Johnson was kind of
He was a
one of
very
a kind.
unique individual.
Yeah, very unique.
He changed his name to
He
legally
changed his
be a wrong
8,
spelling.
5.
The wrong, like, that's not how you say 85 in Spanish.
No, it's not.
But and for anybody who wants to call me out, I am aware that it is not how you say it, but I do not speak enough Spanish to tell you how to say 85 in Spanish. So I'm just gonna put it all out there, full disclosure. I don't speak that much Spanish.
He also got to live kind of the dream of a wide receiver, though, is that he got to play different positions. He got to be a kicker. He got to kick off, which I don't think a lot of players get to do at different positions.
No, not at all. Like, honestly, like, that's why that's one thing about football that's really strange to me. Because you watch basketball and everybody's got to attack, everybody's got to defend. You know, you watch European football, you watch soccer, everybody's got to attack, everybody's got to defend. You watch hockey, everybody's got to attack, everybody's got to defend. That's another thing about the NFL that's really strange to me is that you don't play both offense and defense. I remember the Arena Football League, most of the rosters were so small that most guys would play wide receiver, DB, linebacker, lineman, stuff like that. But something that is interesting. That has always been strange.
Deion Sanders was one player who would line up on both wide receiver and cornerback. And they do have packages now where, well, I guess it's mostly on Hail Mary attempts where they send out a wide receiver to play free safety now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or you have
or like late in the fourth quarter.
Or those trick plays where you have offensive linemen in the backfield and they catch like a screen pass, or they come out of the flat on the wheel route or something like that. Like,
or they throw a pass a la Dante Poe.
Yeah.
Wait, that was a D lineman. He was a D tackle who threw a touchdown pass.
Okay. I remember Randall L. Household has like a touchdown pass to his name, but everybody forgets he was quarterback in college. Everybody forgets he was quarterback in college.
Dante Poe was trying to be the fridge. So
there is no refrigerator Perry to be found today.
They called him they called the guy from Green Bay the freezer. All right, we got a little
World Series.
We took a little trip down there. All right,
taking a trip down memory lane. So I watched the World Series last night. Did you watch the? The game last night?
I watched most of it up till about the 6th or 7th inning.
I won't lie. I made it to the 5th inning. The one thing that stuck out to me was how bad Clayton Kershaw looked. How nervous both Chris Sale and Clayton Kershaw seemed to be on the mound last night. Because, those are two of the biggest names in baseball these days. They're supposed to be the guys. And I looked at the way both of them started those first 2 innings, and I said to myself, this is about to be a lot of back and forth, and this is going to come down to the better offensive team. And that's why I turned it off, because the more I was reading, the more I was like, this is definitely Boston's game to win or to throw away. Mm-hmm. And naturally, they won it. What stuck out the most to me last night, besides that, was the way the Boston got runs. Because I was reading about all the different hitting accolades and how high their percentages were and all the stats and things like that. And I'm sitting here and I was watching the game and I was like, these dudes are getting runs by getting base hits and stealing bases and being aggressive base runners. These aren't power hitters. They're not overthinking the game. They're out here playing. And that was another thing that stuck out to me was Clayton Kershaw overthought the game last night. And it made him look like a genius, but he overthought the game last night. I don't remember if it was the 2nd or 3rd inning, but there was a guy on first base. It was 1 out, right? And it was a full count. It was 3-2. And Clayton Kershaw knew that the guy on base was going to take off as soon as he went into the windup because it's a full count. Even though it wasn't 2 outs, he knew he was going to take off. And instead of throwing the pitch, he threw it to first base. Dude takes off, right? So now he's caught in a rundown. It's not even a rundown. They immediately throw it to second. He doesn't make it. Guy's out. Clayton Kershaw gets a pop-up, and the inning's over. Clayton Kershaw looked like a genius in that moment. But I'm sitting here like Clayton Kershaw's trying to be too cute. Like he needs to just throw the pitch, get the strike, go and get the strikeout. Like have confidence in your pitching ability to say, I'm going to strike you out, and whether or not that guy advances to base or not, I'm striking the next guy out, or I'm getting him to ground out, fly out, whatever. I saw Clayton Kershaw lose confidence last night, and I saw him overthink the game. And I really wanted to super believe in the Dodgers, and I want to believe in them being able to really take it to the Red Sox. But I watched 2 quarters of that game last night. I watched to about the 5th or 6th inning, and I said to myself, Boston is going to have to do something spectacular to lose this World Series.
I would agree, except for I do think, aside from the first inning, Kershaw looked like he had gotten back on track in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th innings.
He looked okay, and then he came out for the 5th.
Yeah, and came off in the 5th. And I think him and Sale were just about done, like around about the same time.
They had high pitch counts.
Yeah.
They had some high pitch counts.
And I think the problem also was the Dodgers hitting was just not there. And they were swinging at some pitches that were just not.
How many times did you see them take a slider in the dirt and it counted as a strike?
Like Machado swung at a pitch that was at his feet, and I was just like, "What are you doing, man?" Like,
they're overexcited and they're overthinking, because I can't tell you how many times I saw off speed, or I saw a slider and it snapped hard in the dirt, and I'm talking about feet in front of home plate. I'm not talking about it bounced up like right there, like right where the catcher is. Like, this stuff was hitting the ground way in front of the plate, and these guys were being fooled for whatever reason.
Yeah, and they need to get I was going to say their eyes checked, but they need to get something checked, and they need to get, their steadiness, and they need to get their mental focus back for tonight's game, or they're going to be in for a world of hurt.
It's going to be big
and
trouble.
They're going to be down in a 0-2 hole going back to L.A. This weekend. So my advice to the Dodgers, just stay calm, and Sale was throwing some balls, obviously, so just don't be afraid to take those pitches that look like they might be going down low.
And another thing that stuck out to me was right when Clayton Kershaw came out, that dude immediately started throwing pitches in the dirt, but not because it was purposeful. Like, you could tell he was nervous. Yeah. Like, the moment was too big for him in that moment. And I'm not saying that I would do any better. I will never sit here and tell you that I would do any better. If you stick me as a relief pitcher into the game 1 of the World Series, and there's guys on base and there's no outs, and it's on me to like clean up this whole mess, I probably wouldn't even be able to make it to home plate. I'd start plunking guys. I'd start a fight. I'd get myself out of the game.
And there was 2 things. I read something on ESPN that I did notice in the game, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it at the time. They were 2 slow turns from second base to first base, slow turn throwbacks for a double play. That would have been double play, but they got called back for just a 1 out because the throwback wasn't fast enough. And both times the guy was sliding into second base, and the second baseman kind of had to move a little bit, but it wasn't totally impeding his throwback. So, like, had he caught it and then immediately had it in his glove and then
transferred it faster, yeah.
Instead of, like, he paused for like a split second both times to kind of shift over and then throw. And I was like, you don't have to do that. Like, you can just grab it and then, like, overthrow it.
You kind of force it, yeah.
Yeah, and it'll get there. Like, you have a better arm than anyone else, so, like,
that's something.
I don't know. It just seemed like they were taking the extra second and it wasn't helping them.
Yeah, and that's something I see in baseball a lot. So we grew up. I can't speak for Ethan. You're a little bit older than me. Little bit. Hang on. We'll talk about that. I'm sorry, but I can't remember my own age for the record. I told someone I was 27 last week, and I'm not 27. I'm still 26. So I don't know. I don't know anybody's age. Everybody's 35. Derek Jeter had, you remember that super iconic like picture of him like just picking up the ball, still body move in the opposite direction, and he just forces it across his body, just throws it. And here's the thing, nobody actually really, I don't personally remember how many times that worked for him and he got them out every single time. But here's the thing, Derek Jeter was good at making that one motion where he would switch it from his glove, he'd grab the ball, and he'd immediately knew where he was going to put it. A lot of times you see baseball players grab the ball and they do that double clutch where they take that extra half second to like cock back a second time. And that half second is literally the difference between safe and out. That's literally the difference between that half second where you definitely hear the snap of the glove before you hear the foot on the bag. And then when you double clutch, it makes it that much closer, and then you're going to hear the foot first most of the time before you see the glove snap back. And it's just, when it comes to professional baseball players, like I said, I can't do any better, but I struggle to understand why you would continue to train to do that double clutch, to take that extra half, 3/4 of a second, because it's costing the team base hits. It's costing you runners on base. Like, it's costing you entire outs. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that it happens as much as it does, particularly at this point in the season. But like I said, I'm just a fan, and I'm just watching the game, and I talk about it as it's happening. I ain't doing no better. It confounds me though. I have no idea. Maybe it comes down to training. Maybe it's the coaches. Maybe it's just the players not being confident enough. Who knows? Until I like sit down and talk to all of them, I'll never know.
I mean, in my personal opinion, I would say that if somebody runs into you, if a runner slides into you at second base, I should think that they hit you before you throw the ball. Both them and the person at first base should be out automatically, instead of like them having to physically come off the base one way or the other. Because like the first time that happened, yeah, he was going to the base, but also he was like a good 3 feet up off the base sliding, and his head was like going right into his chest, the second baseman, and he had to like come off the base, but he still got hit.
There's way too many unwritten rules in baseball.
Oh, the written rules though. So like,
I know.
that's the problem. Is like, that's a written rule that I think should be changed to that any, contact that is viewed as purposeful by the runner sliding into second base to interrupt a throwback to first base should make both outs.
You think it should automatically count as a double play?
Yeah.
So you kind of want to eliminate the takeout slide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is what they were trying to do anyway.
That's actually really fair. I've never actually heard anybody make that argument before. That makes a lot of sense, and I agree with that, because that takes a lot of really ugly injuries out of the game. It takes a lot of ugly confrontations out of the game. I don't have a counterpoint. I really don't. That's good. It's a good take. I don't know. No takeout slides. No takeout slides.
Yeah. That's controversial.
Controversial.
Anyway,
this day and age.
Next up on the agenda,
Champions
League.
Champions. Today in Champions League. The big one that stuck out to me, honestly, was watching Barcelona get it done without Messi today. Messi broke his arm over the weekend. A very strange incident. I can't call it a non-contact injury. He's going for the ball, gets into an aerial duel, gets knocked over, and he just goes to plant his arm to land, to like cushion himself, and you see his elbow just do things that it's not supposed to do. So apparently he's got a break in his ulnar bone, which is in the lower arm. And he's been ruled out for a month. So there's going to be an El Clasico this weekend, Real Madrid versus Barcelona. There will be no Messi. There will be no Ronaldo. There will be no CR7, Cristiano Ronaldo. This is the first time that that's going to happen in 12 years. Because even though Ronaldo's clearly moved on to Juventus, I thought it was very interesting that Messi's also not going to be playing this weekend. But Real Madrid have been doing so poorly this season. It's going to be it's either going to be very interesting or Real Madrid's going to get blown out. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. It's going to be a very interesting game simply because it doesn't have Messi or Ronaldo. But like I said, it could go one of two ways. Honestly, I'm thinking either 0-0, 1-1, or I'm thinking 4-5-0 Barcelona all over again. Like, we're going back to 2010 all of a sudden. But like I said, the thing that really stuck out to me today was Barcelona got it done. They made the exact right decision to start Rafinha, and he scored the first goal. Oh, gosh. I feel bad because I watched this game live, and Jordi Alba scored the second goal. Jordi Alba, he came in on that through ball. Jordi Alba is just one of the fastest guys in the world, one of the best left backs in the world, and quite honestly, I don't know why he's still being left out of the Spanish team, but I don't get paid to make those kinds of decisions. The other thing that really stuck out to me was Manchester City, again, getting it done, again, taking out Shakhtar Donetsk from, Ukraine. That's right. We've had former players. Fernandinho used to play for them. Actually scored for them when they were in the Champions League when he was still playing for them. Very interesting. The other thing that stuck out to me was Tottenham managed to blow their lead today. Tottenham they really should have won today. And instead, they drew with PSV Eindhoven, who have one Mexican international by the name of Chucky. Hervin Lozano had a great World Cup, and it's very strange that he's still at PSV, but he was essential to them today. And I'm going to be honest with you, Tottenham should have walked away with no points, and they got it. But the big thing, I think I really want to mention like this one thing because I really don't want to talk about Paris Saint-Germain because they also didn't deserve to get points today. Angel Di Maria, literally, I'll show you the replay of his goal when we finish recording. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's a gorgeous goal. But it was 2-1. Honestly, PSG shouldn't have even been close, and Angel Di Maria completely bails out the entire team because Neymar didn't really show up. Mbappe was just marked really closely. They didn't give him the opportunity to have a good game. But what I thought was the greatest moment of Champions League football today, outside of Hakimi's hat trick of assists for Borussia Dortmund, who, by the way, I'm gonna say it now. I'm gonna say it now, and then we can come back to it later, and y'all can talk about it later. Borussia Dortmund, German champions. I'm gonna say it now. Bayern's done. I'm gonna say it now. Borussia Dortmund's gonna beat Bayern Munich to the championship this year. I'll put it out there. They're top of the Bundesliga. They're on top of the group in the Champions League. They have not lost a game yet this year. Jadon Sancho and Christian Pulisic look like two of the best up and coming talents in football. Paco Alcácer is one of the best strikers in the world in this moment. Borussia Dortmund's got this. But the greatest moment to me was, I love the nuance. I love the nuance of football, right? So Luis Suarez gets a free kick for Barcelona inches, like literally a foot away from the penalty box. So everybody's super packed into the penalty box. Huge wall in front of goal. And they show Luis Suarez the one opening that he thinks he's going to get is the wall is clearly going to jump. The wall's clearly going to jump. Luis Suarez has a very he's got a signature way of walking up for his free kicks. He takes 3 giant strides and he whacks the out of this ball. He starts his steps, and one of the defenders just slides behind the wall. The wall jumps. Suarez strikes the ball, goes off his back and out for a corner. I love that they had thought of that, and I love that they showed Luis Suarez that opening and waited for him to take it before they took the opportunity away from him. That is what we call smart defending. Did it work? No. Barcelona still won 2-0. But I don't know. I'm a fan of the little things. I love good defending. I love great goalkeeper stops. The fact that Ronaldo didn't score yesterday at Manchester United was a little strange. I thought it would have, and then De Gea went full Ter Stegen and stops him from putting a powerful, just a rocket of a shot into the corner. De Gea is one of the best in the world, and I know he had a bad World Cup, but everybody needs to stop trying to take David De Gea out of their top 5. He's still one of the best goalkeepers in the entire world. And that's all I really want to cover about the Champions League. If you like what you heard, we are clearly on YouTube because that's how you're listening to us. If you click on that little button that's got our little faces on it that says Indoorfins Podcast Indianapolis, you will see a link on our Facebook page that will send you to follow us on Instagram at the Indoorfins Podcast 317. You will be able to follow us on Twitter at Real Indoorfins. You will be able to follow us on Facebook. We are the Indoorfins Podcast. Ethan, you got anything else you wanted to add today?
And don't forget to become a patron.
Please
on our
become a Patreon.
The Indoorfins Podcast Patreon. You can Google it. You subscribe just $1 a month or $2 a month. And then you'll get a shout out from us or a portion on our credits list at the end of our video that we upload to YouTube. So there you go.
The Indoorfins. Sorry. Go ahead, Ethan.
I was going to say we'll think of more things to do once you subscribe.
Please interact with us. I sit on Twitter all the time. I do try to upload to Instagram, and I do try to get on Facebook on a regular basis. Please feel free to leave a comment. Please like, comment, subscribe, as they like to say in the, I don't know, in the business.
Yeah. Comment on our YouTube page if you have any questions.
Questions, comments, concerns. Like, we are very open to interacting with any and all of our fans or criticizers, anybody, honestly. Like, if you think we could be doing a better job or talking about different things, like, let us know. We want to talk about what you want to talk about outside of the NFL.
Who do you think is going to win the World Series?
Let us know.
The Dodgers or the Sox?
The Sox. We going back to Boston? We eating some more baked beans?
Boston, you're going to get chowder.
Chowder. Ooh, you know what? Actually, let's go. I want some chowder.
No, we're not getting chowder.
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 Sorry. We have been watching Good Will Hunting too much.
That was a Simpsons reference for me.
I always think of Good Will Hunting.
I think of that.
Every time I hear a Boston accent, I think of Good Will Hunting.
I think of the Simpsons episode where the mayor's son was trying to get the waiter to say chowder.
Oh man.
And he's saying it in a French accent. He's like, say it, chowder.
Chowder, yeah.
Chowder. All right.
The Simpsons is a strange show.
Yeah. All right.
We shall see you next week.
On the Indoorfins.
Bye.